Welcome. My name is Dr. Julie Beth Jones. I am an audiologist. I have been programming cochlear implants since 1992. I've had the pleasure to work with every single sound processor that Cochlear Americas has ever released except the very first one. I think that gives me a unique perspective on the recent announcement about the NEXA release, because there is some history that I can draw upon to share with you today. The NEXA release is something that we have not seen in 25 years. It's very exciting, but also leaves a lot of questions and some uncertainty. When I was reading through the press release, there was a phrase, 3 words, that signaled to me that this is a level of change that we have not seen in over 25 years. A generational change. Those 3 words were new RF link. So when I think about generations, I think about the N22 devices, the internally implanted portions of the device that we saw early on in the 1980s and 1990s. When we switched from that generation of internal devices to the N24, there was also a change in the RF link. So what is the RF link? The RF link is the signal that sends sound from the sound processor worn on the outside to the internal device on the inside that's surgically implanted. So we haven't seen a change in the RF link since that N22 to N24 shift. We've seen sound processor changes, we've seen internal device model changes, but this is the first time in 25 years we've seen the RF link change. So let's talk a little bit more about what I'm talking about when I mentioned generational change. There are many external device sound processor models within each generation, but something that we don't think about, there are also different internal device models within a generation. And that's why that RF link change is so significant. For what I'm referring to as the N22 generation, the sound processor could talk to the internal surgically implanted components, but we couldn't get information back from the surgically implanted components to the sound processor, the computer programming equipment. That process of two-way communication is called telemetry. For the N24 generation, there's many models of internal device in that generation, but the commonality is telemetry, that ability for us to get information back from the internal device, as well as send in sound processing information to the surgically implanted components. That's why the RF link had to change between N22 and N24. N24, what I'm referring to as the N24 generation, could be anything from the 24M, the Contour Advance, some of the newer models like the Profile and the Profile Plus that gave us the MRI compatibility. So that's where we kind of have the older siblings and the younger siblings in that same generation. The architecture, the rules for hearing, the rules for programming, yes, there's been small changes, some medium changes, but there is a commonality and a uniformity in that generation. Now the NEXA enters the scene. The RF link has changed again, and what is new now will be the onboard memory that is going to come with the new NEXA internal device. So one of the questions is, well, what does that mean for me if I have one of the older generations, an N22 or any of the N24 models? I think the important messaging there is we have the experience of the N22 recipients. They've been well supported for over 30 years. Is it perfect? No. Some patients have more hiccups than others, but with a good team around you, you're hearing well, living well, making your choices. So you, as the N24 generation, can look back to that N22 generation and their experience and know that they've been taken care of. We don't have all the answers about how that's going to happen, but we know that there is a history of it happening, that I have every expectation that we will be able to see the same kind of thing going forward. So what does this mean for long-term cochlear implant users, short-term cochlear implant users, people who are thinking about getting cochlear implants? I'm actually going to flip that conversation to start with our earliest cochlear implant recipients, the N22 generation. I'm going to do that on purpose because I think when innovations happen, N22 recipients often feel like they're the ones waiting at the back of the line, even though N22 recipients are the ones on whose experience and dedication and commitment and risk-taking in those early years, we stand on your shoulders. Today's successes we owe to that earliest generation. So I want to start with you. You already have received the announcement that the N7 sound processor is going to be obsolete for everyone except you. I'm sure that there are questions that come along with that. I wish I had a crystal ball. I wish I could answer all of those questions for you, but I can't. What I can share with you is you are the generation that is living the history that everyone else is writing about. You are the ones who have navigated the unknown, the pioneers, and you didn't start that yesterday. You have a history of advocating for yourselves, navigating the uncertainties, and being successful and making it work. Nothing about that part of the process is going to change. So yes, there's going to be some patience and lots of questions and things that we have to wait to see how they evolve. But for you, that's really nothing new. You know how to do this, and you've built your teams. You can do this. Ask questions, make your voices heard. So let's talk to the youngest siblings in the N24 generation. Someone who's had surgery within the last couple of weeks, the last couple months. Maybe you just had your implant activated. Maybe you're still waiting for activation. Does the announcement of the NEXA change things for you? There may be a very true emotional response to that, but nothing about your decision to get a cochlear implant has changed. There is still the expectation that you will hear better with your implant than you did without an implant. That's why you made the decision to get an implant. You still have a team that you went through the candidacy decision process with, that you trust, you made the decision to move forward. Celebrate your journey. You can still hear well and expect good things from your cochlear implant. None of that has changed. Now let's shift to someone who has surgery scheduled. Do you wait? Do you go ahead? For all of the generations, one thing is true. There is no one-size-fits-all answer. I think we have a tendency to have a little bit of peer pressure. Oh, what did Johnny do? What did Susie do? What if I choose something different? Each of your journeys is different. You will have to make decisions that make sense for you. That's exciting, and it could be scary at the same time. But again, you've chosen a team, you've developed a working relationship with them. Ask questions. When you're unsure, that is a signal that there's a question that needs to be answered. You might not know what the question is, but your team can help you tease that out and help you make a good decision that feels right for you. And it may be different than your friends, than family members, than another implant user. It's your decision and your journey, and you can do this. Up to this point, I've been talking to cochlear implant users. Now I'd like to talk with my fellow professionals and team members. Some of you have been in the field for just a short period of time. Some of you have been in the field for decades like I have. I want to remind all of us that evidence-based practice is our current standard of care. And evidence-based practice starts with the patient. It starts with their goals, their preferences, their needs, and we bring in the theoretical and background knowledge to that context of patient needs. And we have a responsibility to provide both informational counseling, which we don't have all the pieces yet. Yet there is that emotional support counseling part of this process. The uncertainty is probably going to give some weight to the emotional support counseling part and piece that we know patients need to be successful, while we wait for that informational counseling piece to catch up. Again, exciting, but the uncertainty that comes along with it, particularly for some of our long-term users who might not have had a completely linear experience. Maybe they had some hiccups with an upgrade, and so a completely new generation of implant, it could be unsettling or it could be exciting. We don't know. But good patient care, we all know, starts with the patient. That piece of the evidence-based practice, if we leave out the patient, then we've left out a huge part, the most important part of good patient care. I hope you found this video helpful. I hope it started a conversation between you and your family, you and your implant team, between you and other cochlear implant users. Conversation helps. Sharing experiences helps. You have valuable experience as a cochlear implant user or as someone who is considering a cochlear implant that is important to these conversations. Candie is working on a survey that will help capture some of those experiences to contribute to this time of uncertainty, to build on your experiences, and to share with future generations. Thank you.